Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
We're all locked in now.
Your home for the best sports radio in Utah is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to kick off your afternoon drive with Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Allow me to introduce the best of the best.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to lead things off for the end of season press conference for the Utah Mammoth. We're going to throw it over to their facility down at Southtown and hear from the Bear, Andre Tourigny, Bill Armstrong, general manager, and Chris Armstrong, president of the Mammoth. Let's get to that now.
American Thanksgiving to Christmas to the Olympic break to the trade deadline and obviously making the playoff. We had objective, which we hit all of them, sometimes a little bit too tighter than we will have wished, but we hit all our objectives. So we were able to have the consistency we were looking for a few years, in the sense of that was important for us there were kind of two underlying objectives: to extend our winning streak. You know, if you win 4 or 5 games in a row, you can extend that at 7. It makes a huge difference when you arrive at the end. And the reverse was true as well, making sure we stay away from losing 5, 6 in a row, which derail everything. So we were able to do that. The other objective we have, and it's a little bit there's two part of it, was to be better at protecting a lead. And we improved a lot during the season, going with a record of 29-2-2 when we were at the lead after 2. Unfortunately, did not stand in the playoff, and that's, again, something we want to look for. We had, like I said, during the season, good result. We were happy about the improvement we did in that sense, but when the pressure went higher, a certain habit we had, even in our 29 wins when protecting, got highlighted a little bit, and I think it will help us to really dig in deeper on those and making sure we keep getting better. So that's another thing we were happy about. Obviously, the adjustment the player and we made during the playoff against Vegas to cut their possession a little bit. I think and as well increase our possession, certain adjustment we did in the ozone to see how the guys apply it and how much impact that had in the game. That's something we're proud of. Obviously, I'm sure you will have question on that. The playoff learning, I think that's a big achievement for our group. I think there's a lot of young, I don't want to say young, it's not a question of age. It's a team who's young together in the playoff. That was our first time where we're going in the playoff together. It's not just 22 years old guy. It's 32 years old guy who were in the trenches with that group all together, and I think we learn a lot from each other, and we'll get much better because of it. There's a few guys who hit their career high. There's a few guys who really have bounce back year, so which we were really proud of that. Another thing we're really proud is more than I think that Bill always used the proof is in the pudding, but I think there's a lot of guys who choose to be in Utah. They made the decision because they like the environment, they like the ownership, they like everything, but they like to be here with the boys. I often say you cannot judge the happiness of a household by how great is the house. It's the people in it who make it special. You can have an humble place with great people who are super happy. And I think here that we have everything. We have a super house. We have unbelievable fans. We have great ownership. But we have as well unbelievable people in it who makes it really, really special and where the player likes to be. So from the commitment of Ryan and Ashley, from the management who do a really good job bringing the right guys in the mix, but as well from everybody, the staff, the players, everybody around who makes this place a place where the guys wants to be every day and assures that. So that's something we're really proud of. And I would finish by saying I think we grew our relationship with our fans by making the playoff. It always helped, but even then during the season, the involvement of our player and how community upsets they were and how much more impact we have every day in the community here, I think that's something we're really proud of and we're looking forward to grow. So, Steve? Okay, good.
Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther, we've talked about their on-ice abilities, but how have they established their own identities in the locker room, and how have they grown their leadership skills this season?
I think the part they did, but they will even more, it's to be a leader, you need to be consistent. You cannot say to people to do certain thing when you don't do it every day. I don't care how great you are. At some point, if you hold people accountable, you need to do it first. I think those two guys got way more consistent, and I think that rubbed everybody the right way. I think everybody wants great player, but they want great player with the right attitude, the right competitiveness, the right mindset, the right commitment. And I think those two guys grew their consistency during the year, and I think that will have an impact greater in the future, and they will keep improving those things.
One of the big reasons to make the playoffs was so you would learn a lot about, going through that experience. So what are some of the things you learned that make you excited for the next step?
There's a big part of it is learning about your team. You know what I mean? There's learning the playoff, time and space, physicality, the ref, the crowd, those kind of, but you learn about your guy. I learned a lot about Kels and Schmaltzy. Even if I was with them for 5 years, the way they were capable of adjusting their game. And first of all, their reaction when they get in the game and the way they normally play was shut down. Their reaction and their urgency of right away finding solution. They didn't went in the panic mode of saying, well, we're screwed. No, they went right away, okay, what different can we do? How can we find that space, and et cetera, et cetera. And they were right away in solution mode. In the playoff, we often say it's a long playoff. It's a long playoff, but it's really short. So they had to adjust right away. And right away in game 2, they start to find more possession, more little tip. And we work a lot with them to find those little tip. And from game 3, they were in. So now they have a better understanding of, okay, when people say you have no time, no space, or there's more pressure, okay, well, what do you do then? How you can react? What's your tools? I think those two guys did a really good example. I think Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunter, when really get out of the gate, exceptional, really good. Then they attract some attention, not just from you guys, but from the opponent, and they had to live with everything's coming with it, and the attention they got between whistle, after the whistle, and so on and so forth. That's huge learning from them. You know what I mean? It's you play in Seattle tonight, and tomorrow you're playing in Chicago. Even if you have 2 goals yesterday, it's not the same. Tomorrow you play against another team who, even if they know how good you are, they don't have the same urgency than the team you just did that to them. So I think in the best of 7, there's more detail in that sense, and I think going through that for them will be huge. And I can go on, and I think it gave us, as an organization, a really good read of what has to really be better. Can be roster-wise, can be coaching-wise, can be whatever the management may be, the message or whatever. But I think there's a lot of stuff where obviously it will not be public, but we all understand much better.
It was your first playoff experience as a head coach in the NHL. What did you learn, and also how does it compare to like CHL playoffs and international tournaments and that kind of stuff?
It's different than international tournament because for the same exactly what I just said. If you beat Finland in semifinal, you don't play them in final. So it's a different opponent. It's new all the time. It's high pressure. That's the same. The stake, the pressure, the stress, all of that's the same. Where you ask, it's different than junior. Is no, but a few level higher. It's junior on steroid if you want, or it's junior at a high level in the sense of adjustment during the playoff, your matchup, the wear down of the opponent, everything. But I'm not saying it's the same in junior. It's 10 level higher, but is the same principle. Now, it's much better. It's much more detailed. Saying at a 17-year-old guy, certain adjustment you have to do. Okay, you will go from here to here. Here, you go from here to here, in a sense. Certain adjust. If you look at the first two games, we could not possess the puck in their zone one bit. We're one and done. Certain adjustment been made. The guys did it like that. It's not like they're pro. They're smart. They're skilled. They attention to detail. They're focused, etc., etc. So you're capable of making way more adjustment, who has a huge impact in the game. So I think that was fun.
You mentioned your record at protecting leads in the regular season, obviously very good. What made that more difficult in the playoffs, and how did Vegas make that more difficult?
It's a really good question. Vegas had the lead yesterday, did they? What happened? Colorado, they're not too bad. They had a 3-goal lead, right? They end up trailing in that game. See, when you score 9, it's not that important, but it's not every night you score 9. So what does that tell you? It depends. Your eyes see something, my eyes see something else. It's tougher in the playoff. Billy might correct me here, but last year the league gave us numbers, and the change of lead in the third period during the season, I think, was 42%, and in the playoff it went at 50%. There's more change lead in the third period in the playoff than in the regular season. Why? Well, the stake is higher. The opponent is better. We're talking here the top 16 team in the league. The opponent is better. There's more pressure. That's exactly why my take of that is, okay, that's why you need to be even more detailed. You can hold the lead sometimes during the season, not because you did the right thing, just because you're either a good team or you get lucky or you got away with something or whatever the reason might be. But you cannot fall asleep because, okay, we won. We hold the lead. We won. Life is good. Next game. Okay, you need to have a short-term memory, but you need to steer lesson of all of that, not just when you fell, not just the 2 times we lost. There's probably in the 29, there's probably, I will say 9 where was not a Picasso here. Maybe we should have make some adjustment or so on and so forth, or steer lesson. And I'm not saying we didn't. We're, I think, doing a pretty good job of staying even keel and making an analyze of what really happened, not just the final score, not just the scoreboard. The scoreboard, how many times I said to you, that lie a lot, that little thing up there. That you could just saw maybe the game 7 between Tampa and Montreal. How many game 7 you saw the losing team give 9 shots? I don't think it ever happened. You know what I mean? So John Madden was remind me they won a game 7 where they give up 6, but they won it. When you lose it, giving only 9 shots, it's unbelievable. But that's why the scoreboards sometimes lie. So you need to focus on what you can control.
How would you assess how effective the power play was in the playoffs? And I guess what types of things do you want to see differently moving into the next season?
That's a really good question, and I forgot to take a note on that, but they since February 1st, we had the best or the second best power play in the league. So I think we had kind of a 3-season this year. We had until then, where was not the way we wanted. Then there's from February 1st to the playoff, where we were elite, and there's the playoff. We're still working at answering your question exactly. What are exactly the trigger? It's easy to say, we need to be more direct, we need to put more pucks at the net, which is all true. We need to be a little bit better, much better in our loose puck recovery, much better in the net front. We make that all happen. And we take that extremely seriously. It's not just talking about it. We had a meeting today, we talk about it. We'll be in meeting all week, we'll talk about it, finding clear plan and clear solution. One thing we're taking a lot of pride as an organization in every area is when we assess a problem, we go at it and we fix it. And the players are outstanding at it. I think as a coaching staff, we take a lot of pride in that. If you look at our record in overtime at 3-on-3 last year, was in the negative this year, where I don't remember the numbers, but I think we're 10-6, something like that. So we flip the script totally the other way. The power play one of the steps we talk about protecting lead. Power play has to be a huge contributor for us. And if you look at, there's a lot of things we look at. You look at Winnipeg last year, best power play in the league, right? They finished, 30th this year? Tampa Bay was 6th last year. They finished even with us this year. So we finished 17, I think. I think they're 16 or something like that. So we want to see what's the difference in the power play of Tampa 2 years ago versus this year. What's the kicker here? Same thing for Winnipeg. What did it so good last year, which this year didn't do so good? Why did that happen? And doing, for sure, the first thing is us. We're looking at us, what we can do better, what should we have done better, what we have to learn. But as well, looking everywhere, taking our knowledge to everywhere else, and what makes a difference? You look at Edmonton, it's a little bit the same situation. They went from here to here, and they're back on top. And all of that, we need to study that to make sure we don't have the simple answer, we need to shoot more pucks, we need to recover pucks. There's more layers than that, and we need to be spot on.
Kyler Yamamoto was kind of in and out of the lineup for the first half of the season, but seemed to find his stride down the stretch and into the playoffs. Where did you see his game develop over the course of the season?
He's a guy who he can trap you in the sense of if you look the sheet or you look his size, you will think a certain thing. But if I describe it to you and I say, this guy win every battle, this guy go to the net, this guy go in dirty area, this guy drive the net, this guy play really good defense, which number he has, you will never say 56. But that's the truth. That's what he does. Even if he's not the biggest, if you look at the number of body check he had in the playoff, and more than that, we showed to the team in pregame guys bailing when Yami's coming. And I have the video. I can back up what I'm saying because he's going. He can be whatever his size. He's not going for the bunt. He's going for the home run all the time, and I think he is an unbelievable kid, unbelievable teammate. I'm sure you did your due diligence, talk to everybody in the exit meeting. You want to hear boo against Yami. He's great. So he did a good job. I think he showed character. He, like you mentioned, I put him in the tough spot in and out of the lineup. First line, second line, fourth line, in the stand, fourth line, third line, first line, fourth line. He moved all year long. He was consistent, and I think he proved what he could do in the playoff, and really proud of him.
When you watched your team in the playoffs and seen what was developing and not developing, did you think to yourself, this is the style of player that we need to add during the offseason? There's something more that we can add?
His press conference is right after mine.
I was planning on asking him too.
I will talk to him not to you, if I have an answer to that, with all the respect. But it's obviously always those conversations. Okay, what could we have more? What we need more? Where we we could have or should have or would have take advantage of certain thing. Well, on my side, the way I think, I will tell you, we had injury, and those guys were extremely important. If we will have had those guys, my job, I always say, and Bill will tell you the same, that's our guy. Well, perfect. That's my job. The solution is here, not here, not on the other team. That's not my job. If at some point we have discussion every day saying, okay, I cannot find a solution for that. That doesn't work. There's something doesn't work, and we're beating up solution over solution over solution. At some point, the big guys say, okay, I have a solution for you. And it could be Nick DeSimone a couple of years ago. It could be a trade, or sometimes it could be a subtraction, or it can be a lot of roster movement Bill and his group will do. But that's not my job. My job is those are the 23 we have, and we need to win with those 23, and that's my job.
Coach, it's been well documented that you enjoy looking to other coaches and managers in the game of hockey, but especially other sports and their philosophies to apply to their teams. Curious, as you evolve as a coach, what's one thing you learned about yourself this season?
People has a different perspective of me sometimes during the game. People think I'm quiet during the game. You might have a different perspective because you're close to me, but just say a little story. I had a mic at some point during the playoff, and we got the content after my wife was with me when I listened to it. She went, "You never talk during the game." I said, well, the player will say otherwise. So, I think I was this year learned, and I had a lot of communication with the player, and the player often talk about the calm behind the bench is really important. Hockey is a different sport than, let's say, basketball or other sports where coach are, like I often say, hockey is the only sport the coach is behind the bench. That's where you belong. All the other sports, the coach is in front of the player. They're active, they're this and that. In hockey, it's such a fast game. The guys have to think at a million things in a split seconds. They don't need me to be behind and yelling and pressing and stuff like that. So I think it's still something I have more to go, but I need to be much better at creating that environment behind the bench where I'm a little bit less intense and emotional, which that's part of my personality. I have a boiling blood a little bit, but I need to be a little bit better. So I learned this year by being better at that, how much positive impact that on the team. And where I was the most composed, it's in the playoff. Because I was really prepared and I was really calm and composed. And I think it helped a lot the team. I think it helped. We said a lot of time in the playoff how much we were even keel. I think it started by me doing my job and being more composed, and I think I learned a lot about that this year. There's always a bunch of things you learn on leadership and how to manage. I work a lot through the years of empowering the leadership and making sure they take charge and making sure it's not just having leadership meetings, it's having them the responsibility to do certain things. And there's a progression on that. I think we made a huge step this year. I think it's something, I will not say it's something I learned about myself or I got better at, but it's a step I was eager our team to take. And they took a really great step. I think we're really proud of our leadership group.
Coach, we heard a lot of players on Sunday say they know where they stand with you. You're an open coach. They also said you're the coach that's going to come in there and chat with them during breakfast.
Yeah. How
important is it for you to have both of those, the professional, honest coach and a player relationship?
That's, for me, it's everything. We grew up in a different era where if you lose the game the next day, you were walking in and you were trying to get between the paint and the wall, and nobody sees you, and try to get in your stall, try to not getting yelled at. It's not like that anymore. That created an environment where there's stress, the guys are not happy, they don't want to be here. When I talked earlier about how proud we are the environment we have here, for me, the players know exactly where they stand with me. When I'm not happy, they know I'm not happy. I get in that breakfast room and I'm chirping them and having fun with them and talking about their kids or their haircut that looks like mine or whatever it is. I have no problem and we have fun. But at 10, when the meetings start, now it's not the guy who was in the lunchroom. Now it's the player who yesterday did not do what he had to do. And I will not be rude, but I will be black and white. That's your job. And that's what the expectation. And here everybody has to do what they are expected to do. We're the luckiest people on earth to do that sport, to be in the professional sport, to have that kind of facility, to be really well taken care of, to have 20,000 people who cheer for us every night, to have millions of people watching our game. Our responsibility is to deliver every day. That's our job. There is no feeling in that. So there's a few phrases I often use. Rules has no feeling. Expectation has no feeling. That's what it is. Did you do it or you didn't do it? You didn't do it. But it's not about yelling and having feeling. It's a matter of fact. That's what it is, you know. And I think there's one set of rules that's what it is. So the player know exactly where they stand. But they know exactly after that meeting, when I told him he didn't do his job, we're walking in the gym and I keep chirping him on something else and he's chirping me, and that's different. Now the player, we had that chat in the room, it's clean, it's done. He knows I'm not mad at him. As a hockey player, okay, you have a job to do. I'm not mad at you. It's just that's your job. That's your job and that's my job. So everybody do their job, we're fine. Then we go in the gym and we enjoy ourselves, we have fun. We don't have to be miserable. It's not because we lost 6-2 yesterday, we have to be miserable all day today. That won't help tomorrow. Yesterday is yesterday. Today we clean up what we have to do. Now, let's get to work and let's get excited about tomorrow. We have a hell of a game tomorrow, and I'm trusting you learn and we'll be better together. And that's all. And in that room as well, I will say, when I screw up, that's the first thing I do in the morning. I talk about what I screwed up. Sometimes it's a comment, sometimes something I did during the game or whatever. I start by some accountability. Say, okay, that was my mistake, that was my bad, that's on me, I need to be better. So make that clear for everyone. So after I say what I have to say, but I never, for me it's really important you don't attack the integrity. You know, it's not dumb, you're lazy, no, it's not that. It's on display. That's the expectation. That's what you have to do, right? That's perfect.
All right, there is the Bear, head coach of the Utah Mammoth, as we have the end of season press conference. We're going to take a quick break, Ben. If you want to hear the Bear in his entirety, we will get all of this sound posted. Coming up next, we'll see if we're going to do top 3 stories of the day, KSLSports.com. But if Bill and Chris Anderson, or Armstrong, you're Anderson.
That's me.
Start talking, we might throw back down to Southtown and get a little bit of that. So stay tuned. We've got lots on board for the show. It's Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson. Now, every day from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to bump top 3 stories of the day, KSLSports.com, because the Mammoth end-of-season press conference continues on. We heard from the Bear, Coach Tierney, in the first segment. Let's go ahead and throw it back to Southtown and hear now from Chris Armstrong, president of the team.
Acknowledge with appreciation our ownership group, Ryan and Ashley Smith, our players, our coaches, our staff, our front office, and all of our employees across SCG who gave us absolutely everything they had to make this an unforgettable first season as the Utah Mammoth. I'm proud of our group for reaching one of our stated objectives of reaching the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. Indeed, there were many positives throughout this year that we can add to our foundation and continue to build upon. That being said, we're sitting up here unsatisfied and unhappy that our season is over. We have a lot of work to do. That work began the morning after Game 6, and it will continue until we drop the puck again in September. As our players have mentioned and as Bear alluded to, we don't take for granted that it's going to be even harder to get into this position again, and we will stop at nothing as an organization to better ourselves, to improve this team, and to meet that challenge. We play in the toughest league in professional sports for the hardest trophy to win, and we are excited about the challenge and embracing the opportunity to reach our objective of still playing hockey at this time next season. So with that, I'll open it up to questions unless, Bill, you have anything to add.
Yeah, I'd just like to say when we first came in and we took this stage, I guess, for the press conference, you heard me say those words, meaningful games. And we hope to win some really important, meaningful games down the stretch in our first year. And I believe we did that. We actually finished really strongly. And then, the next year we came and sat at this table and said, we'd like to win those meaningful games, like have some big, huge games, but, kind of get into the playoffs. And someone said, make the playoffs? Well, we said, yeah. And we announced our goals. We said, hey, we want to make the playoffs. And I think, the coaches and the players did an incredible job. If you think about our stretch at the end, we won 5 games to clinch and take wild card 1 with authority. And that was an eye-opener, and it was a shot of confidence for us, and you could feel it with our group. They rallied behind that, and you'd walk by the players, and you could just feel it. There was a calmness. There was a lot of confidence that we could do some damage in the playoffs. And, it's interesting because we're all competitive people or we wouldn't be at this level, and we go play a great playoff series and we're all unhappy. And not to say, as a worry as a GM, when you get into those situations that you actually make the playoffs, you want to be competitive. And you're nervous about that because, you want to be in the fight and you want to get in, but when you get in, you want to be competitive. And I thought our coaches did a great job with our players preparing and battling, but the issue that we had is that when we got in there, we're pretty darn good. And there's a fine line in our sport between winning or losing. And for our growth of our team, we have to suffer a little bit of pain to learn to walk that line a little bit better. And if we can do that in the big moments moving forward with this group, we're going to have a good chance to take it a run as far as we can at the Stanley Cup. And that's the goal of this organization. And like Chris said, the fans, we got to play 3 unbelievable home games that were spectacular. And I'd like to thank our fans not only for the year, but for those games were incredible. We'll never forget that. Nobody involved with our organization will ever forget that. Ryan and Ashley Smith have done an amazing job at this facility that we sit today, allowing us to be an elite franchise. And what they've created at the Delta Center and just the environment there is amazing. I also want to thank you guys. You've been tremendously positive towards our team from the moment we've come in. Appreciate your support going through the process.
I'll start with Bill. You just mentioned it. Sometimes you have to go through a little bit of pain. A lot of the players talked about that too in their exit interviews. How will a strong off season and their preparation this summer help spring you guys to that next step next season?
Ooh, great question. If you look at the 16 teams that got in last year, only 10 repeated. And 2 of those teams that didn't get in, one won the Stanley Cup and one won the President's Trophy. So our message when we were leaving, everybody was unhappy, but they were enthused about training and how hard we have to play to get back into the playoffs. It's going to be a battle every single day, and game 1 is like for us is game 7. So it's the team left not saying, oh, we're so great. They left, hey, we got a battle. It's going to take all summer to get back in shape and really push the pace right here. So our team left hungry, and that's the most important thing.
Chris, when it comes to the leadership that was brought in going into this season, like Nate Schmidt, other players like that, even Mackenzie Weegar at the trade deadline, something that was said a lot was how calm everyone was because the leaders were on the bench telling everyone, it's okay, we're getting through this, keep pushing. Like that? How have you seen not only your leadership group lead, but some of the younger guys starting to adapt to what their leaders are doing to them?
Yeah, Catherine, I think it's a great question. I think there's been tremendous growth in our leadership group as a whole this season, and they're very complementary to one another. I mean, just notably, I think, Kels took amazing steps this year as a leader, how he handled all of the adversity in his personal life and continued to guide this team forward and to give us his best every day was truly remarkable and certainly emblematic of the character of that individual. Lawson Krause, Bear mentioned earlier, you could see the steps that he took. It started with his dissatisfaction with his season last year and all the work that he put in and that determined effort that he came to camp with, and really, I think, found his voice within the leadership group. The players with experience that we brought in, I think it's invaluable in the sense that they can share with our young players what things are going to feel like, what things are going to look like, what to expect. The guys have to go through those experiences themselves to really accrue that experience. However, I think having those cornerstones in the room that can provide that even-keeled, that level of calm, and set that expectation was very helpful to us in embracing the challenge of the first round against Vegas.
Andre told us to ask you guys this question. What are the off-season needs that you recognize, especially in the playoffs?
Well, it's great to learn about your club. I think you learn a little bit of, and Bear talked about it, the adaptation that Smoltzy and Kels had between the first couple of games was incredible to see them, learn to get into that playoff mode and play. There's a lot of evaluation that still has to be done. It's hard to say for our club. We've got a lot of younger players. We're probably different than most clubs because we've got 7 really good prospects. I believe they're all first rounders that sit outside our organization that are pushing to get in. We've got to do some more evaluation on them. We've got to do some more evaluation with our players and who's coming back and who's going. So there's still more work to be done before we kind of dive in and put it on the board exactly what our needs are.
Adding on to that, is there a move you made either last offseason or leading up to the trade deadline that you look back at and say that worked, and how will that help you with the moves and the decisions you'll need to make this offseason?
Yeah, good question. I think we brought in Weegar, and I think everybody knows him as a person. It's hard. There's not enough time between trade deadline and when you actually fire up for the playoffs to kind of. It's like moving into a new house. It takes a little bit of time to feel comfortable. So Weeks jumped in there, and he really made a difference for us. It took him a little bit of time to get comfortable, I think, with the system and just he had lived in Calgary for a while. It wasn't an easy transition for him, but I liked what he did, especially how big and tough Vegas was and how hard he played. It really helped us, and I think Nate Schmidt was the off-season winner for us. Smitty just kind of solidified him and Johnny as a top 4D, and they were lights out for us. I think one was plus 42 during the course of the year, so they were dynamic as a 2 top D in our team, top 4D.
Chris, I've got an easy one for you, and then Bill, I've got a few tougher ones for you. But Chris, you talked about the fan base. How are you seeing this organization and this fan base kind of create an identity together and create tradition and all of those things that go into establishing a great hockey organization?
It's a great question, Cole. I think the beauty of all of this is that we've done it all together with our fan base. Our fans guided us to the name, the Utah Mammoth. They've been a part of building meaning into that identity with us. And being in that constant two-way communication with our fan base and with the community about what's working, what could be better, what they like to see different, and being pliable and able to adapt to those things on the fly, I think has helped us start to find a uniquely Utah experience for this franchise. And that was really what we set out to do from the very beginning. As Ryan and Ashley stated, this is about Utah, for Utah, by Utah. And we've obviously been moving at a very fast clip to put all this together from our inaugural season to the brand launch of the Utah Mammoth, and now just completing our first season as the Utah Mammoth. But we've really tried to stay in constant dialogue and communication with our fans, monitor the discussion in chat rooms and online to see what's working and what's not, and really try to make them part of this experience in every way we can.
All right, Bill. The players talked a lot about expectations on Sunday, and they said that
I know where you're going with this.
They said that this is playoffs are the expectation now.
Yeah.
Now you're 2 for 2 since being in Utah on setting expectations and meeting those goals.
Yeah.
You've now made the playoffs. Where do you go from here, and what do you look to accomplish next season?
That's an easy one to answer. We got one thing on our mind. That's playoffs. Get into playoffs. You think about it, Stanley Cup winner didn't get back. President's Trophy didn't get back. Our goal is to get back. And with Coach Tourigny and our players, like I said, they left their, coach is hungry and the players left hungry. But listen, it's hard. Think about that. They won the Stanley Cup and they won the President's Trophy. They didn't get back into the playoffs. So our expectations are to get back in. That's the number one.
Talking about players' performances and what have you, I was wondering if you could kind of assess the season that J.J. Peterka had, and in addition to that, do you feel like he found his role? Do you feel like you guys kind of put him in a position to find that?
J.J. is unique because of his skill set, his speed and talent. And the transition, I don't think it was exactly easy for him. I thought he excelled. At times, I think he probably be the first to tell you he's looking for a little bit more consistent performance during the course of the year. And, for him, he can move around. He's kind of like a one-man skill show, and he's got the ability to kind of score from everywhere. I think it takes time. I don't think some transitions are as easy as others. I think for him, he came into a team that's highly competitive. A lot of the lines are made up, and we play a certain system that's not sometimes easy for certain players to kind of take on. I think it's harder for skill guys to kind of sometimes jump in. There's a lot of responsibility. And now we're also playing at a higher level, trying to get into the playoffs and also win in the playoffs, and there's more required. So I like him. I think his skill set's really good. I know JJ just built a rink in his house, so I'm pretty sure he's going to be hungry and skating all summer.
I would just add, I thought JJ had a great self-assessment in his exit interview with you guys the other day, and he showed that he's committed to being a vital part of this franchise.
Bill, you mentioned how hard it is to get back to the playoffs after making it. You also mentioned how many prospects you do have, though. How do you manage an off-season where you have that many guys kind of fighting for spots while still trying to build a roster to get back to the playoffs?
Yeah, we want to encourage our prospects to come in and try and make our club. You never want to take a dream away from a prospect, and you don't know. Sometimes they can just show up and they earn their way in, and we want to make sure that our prospects that are probably seeing this press conference that, come ready, be fighting for a job. There's opportunity there. Our team is a good team. It's changed. I think we're different than when Dylan Guenther entered the NHL, and hey, we needed one guy to score, and now our team's there. It's a harder team to make. It doesn't mean they can't make it, but they got to come in and they got to take somebody's job. Let's be clear about that. They got to show up in the best shape, and they got to earn the right to take that job. So it's going to be competitive. And I like that. Instead of coach out there whipping them, they just look across the bench and they're like, oh, wow, that guy's pretty good. I'm not losing my job. This is a good team. This is a good place to play. I want my job. And I love that compete coming to camp. It's such a great thing. Players can sense it from the moment they arrive. We got some young players that can play. It's going to be a heck of a training camp.
And Bill, early on, you were talking about fine lines.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Mammoth were 53 seconds away from a 3-1 lead in this series. When you look to this offseason, be it free agency, trade, development of existing players, etc., where do you see solving that 53-second problem?
Well, there's a little bit of pain you have to go through. You look at Tampa Bay, and they lost out in 4 games, I think, to Columbus. When I was with the Blues, we got beat up every year by the Chicago Blackhawks that went on to win, and LA Kings that went on to win, and they were painful losses, and we got tougher every single time. And without those teams, we would have never won a championship. So I don't necessarily think it's in someone that we can acquire. I think it's that pain that when we're going through that situation again, we're probably a little bit better going through it, from coaching to players, and it's a hard lesson to learn because it changed the outcome of a series, but it is something that you have to go through.
I just want to add, Bill, because it's been brought up and mentioned in Bears press conference as well. We obviously have to be better. We have to close those games, and our details have to be better in those situations. But at the same time, I do want to give credit to our opponent in Vegas. They were the number one team in the NHL all season long in the third period. I think they have 13 come from behind victories when trailing in the third period between playoffs, between regular season and playoffs now. So I do think, all of this said, we have to tip our cap to our opponent. They were the better team in the series, and they beat us.
Chris, when it comes to goals, somebody told me one time that when you set goals, they need to be reasonable, specific, attainable, and time-bound. So if you go way back to the beginning of the season when making the playoffs was the goal, how important, in your perspective, was it to set that then?
Yeah, I think setting intention, Matty, is very important. Like you have to know what your destination is, even though everything is about the process to get there. And I think we do a good job of that inside of our organization, throughout all levels of our organization, of being on the same page and having clarity around what it is that we're trying to attain and what it's going to take to get there. And I think if you have that in the back of your mind, and Bill's a great proponent of writing things down, writing things on the board, writing things on the mirrors in the bathroom, so that we're constantly being reminded of what those goals and intentions are. That will only, I think, help to refine your habits and your routines to achieve them.
Bill, one for you. Since you became a GM in this league, you've built a ladder, if you will, of picks. That almost seems like it's transitioned into a ladder of players on your roster. You've got the established veterans, you've got the emerging veterans, Cooley, Gunther, guys like that, and now you have all these prospects underneath that are trying to get up. Is it, as you move forward, is it more tweaking now than anything in terms of trying to make that roster 5-10% better?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, you used to come to training camp and there's tryouts. You used to come and put guys on the board and be like, I don't know if that works. I think we're kind of past that. We know that Schmaltz, Krause and Keller go together, and they're probably going to be our first line showing up for camp. So I think we're at that good stage where there's people that we have some interest in. We got to do some more evaluation and go through the process. But looking at some of the guys that we could add and some tweaks that we could possibly make, and maybe it's a guy from the minor leagues, maybe it's one of our prospects to put in those things. It's a good spot to be in. You're not reinventing the board. The board's there. The players are there. It's a good time for us as an organization. Now it's just about finding that right fit, the player that go in there to get some chemistry, and I think there's some good little tweaks that we can make with some players also in house, and that can really, kind of help us tidy up some areas I think that we can improve on.
Chris and Bill, would love some insight from the both of you on this. Sports teams, businesses, the most successful ones have great culture. And from day one, that's been an important part here at Smith Entertainment Group and, of course, the Utah Mammoth. So of meeting the expectations last year, this year, still more meat left on the bone. Obviously, as you guys made mention of, the Winter Classic coming next year, the great things that happen on and off the ice this season. I'm curious how the culture here empowers you guys to be the best versions of yourselves day in and day out, and how you've seen that progress to get to this point.
You want me to start with that one? I think the way people show up and support each other here speaks volumes about the setting the tone for how we want to conduct ourselves and how we want to be part of that. that's been self-evident since we arrived in Utah, all of us together, many for the first time coming here, was that sense of pride for having another major professional sports team in the city, and the way that people show up and care for each other in this state is extremely motivating and energizing for our entire group. Culture of our organization starts at the top with Ryan and Ashley, and it's very clear spending any amount of time with them. It's all that they are doing with this platform is using it as a means to give back to the community and make Utah better than they found it, and put Utah on the map for the rest of the world as a place that people want to come and visit and stay and be a part of. And I think that's sort of the guiding principle for all of us.
Yeah, I'll just tell a quick story. Chris talking to me about this thing they're building, and when you're GM, you're so preoccupied with whether you won or lost, and who you're going to talk to that day. And he's like, "Oh, they're building this thing," and I'm like, "Yeah." Then all of a sudden, I see the Mammoth, and I'm like, "Oh my God, that thing is incredible! It's got smoke coming out of it. The detail on this thing." I'm like, it's like, and that's what our company that we're very fortunate to work for is all about. It's from the logo, how well it's designed. It's all the details. We get to work inside a company that has such high standards. They blow everything out of the water. And for us, that's an inspiration. It's us walking out of this building knowing we're in the most elite practice facility in the National Hockey League. We have great pride in that, and that inspires us every single day. It's like, they're not going to accept anything down here. It's going to be up here. And I think everybody knows that inside our organization. They're always trying to do the best. They want the best. They expect the best, and it sets really high standards. And it's a great place to be. It's an awesome place. And I haven't got to ride on the Mammoth, but I'm hoping Chris and I can take it out for the 4th of July parade and yell "Crest" to be great.
T-shirt cannons, but no, and I hope it's not lost on people that we're obviously in the winning business, but we're also all having a great time. And we feel very fortunate and very lucky to be doing what we're doing for a living and to work in this sport and to work for people like Ryan and Ashley Smith.
All right, there you go. That is Bill and Chris Armstrong. No relation. Bill is the general manager of the team, and Chris, of course, the president of the Utah Mammoth. That is their end-of-season press conference. If you want to hear anything that we missed, obviously they're still going. I can't imagine for much longer. But if you want to catch the rest of it, we will get it all posted at kslsports.com so you can listen to it at your leisure. You say leisure or leisure?
Probably depends on the day. If I want to be annoying, I say leisure.
I feel like I grew up saying leisure, but it's one of those words where some snooty person's going to be like, actually, it's leisure.
Well, do you say leisurely or leisurely?
Leisurely.
Yeah, everyone does. So I think leisure is just wrong.
Nice. I feel empowered. All right, we'll have more coming up next. We bumped top 3 stories of the day at kslsports.com to 3:30. Christian, is that what we're doing? So stay tuned for that. It's the Jake and Ben Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.